I don't know. I mean, I guess we should. I presume everyone here at least knows what Launchpad is. You probably managed to register for this room, stuff like that. The point of this summary, I mean, the point of this session is fundamentally to answer any questions you have and just sort of get people up to speed with the Launchpad way, whatever that means. I guess probably we should talk a little bit about I have a list of things to talk about, if you can.
Where are we going right now? I'm sure there's some simpler way to get there, but I can't be bothered to figure it out. Look at that.
Okay. So yeah. So I mean, the reason Launchpad was built in the first place was because I think it was designed to be a sort of conduit between Ubuntu developers on the one hand and upstreams of various kinds on the other. So you have, I would say, GNOME terminal or something that's being developed in its GNOME world, and you have Ubuntu with all its sorts of users, and also the package GNOME terminal. In the Ubuntu world, and Launchpad is the way data information gets from one to the other. So there's this kind of science fiction story, which isn't really true yet even, but one day you'll be able to come to Launchpad, you'll find a bug on Ubuntu about some way in which GNOME terminal is broken for you. An Ubuntu developer will come along and go, oh, actually that's a bug in upstream, and you can mark it's affecting GNOME terminal, and then automatically forward that bug up into Bugzilla, and all the comments that get made on Launchpad and get made in Bugzilla will be synchronized. And then so the Ubuntu developers will get notified when the package is fixed upstream, because they subscribe to the bug, and then they'll be able to take the package in the upstream package and so on. That's not all there, so I don't think we've had forwarding bugs yet, but the idea is there, and then many parts of the process are in fact
actually, I think forwarding bugs may be there, but it's turned off for the general case because there was a worry that we didn't want to spam upstream with a whole bunch of bazillion things.
Sort of before it has to be a manual process. I mean, automatically forwarding bugs upstream is a very bad idea by everyone, I think.
Yeah. Although apparently, so we had in the talk, I don't know, sometime this week. One of the upstreams was in the room. They're like, "No, we want all. Just go ahead and forward them." We're like, "What? Wait! All of our assumptions about what the user wants are wrong." So that was a great object lesson, trying to protect them. They're like, "Please don't do that. Just give them all to us, and that'd be great."
And they'll do that, Debbie, and they'd kill us.
Yes. Just kill you in general. General principle.
So I mean, I have a list of things to talk about. One of the things I guess is worth getting out of the way is Launchpad has a very integrated concept of a group of people. So there are various roles, like the maintainer of a project, or the people, the group, the owner of a branch, or the assignee of a branch, I guess, a particular example. And in all of those cases, you can assign that role to a team as well as a person, and then anyone who's a member of that team or a member of a sub-team, team's nest, has the access that being admin of the group, say, gives you, admin of the project gives you.
So you've essentially got two sort of things. You've got things that can own things, so a person or a group. So, and those you could sort of consider a person just a special case of a team as a team to a person, even though it's not quite that. But pretty much anything that starts in the URL with tilde is a person-like object. And then other things are essentially owned by some person-like object. So as opposed to a model where, like, the projects are a really good example of this. Like, there's a project, like, I can use my own project as an example in pretty much everything I say. And so there's a Drizzle project, but the Drizzle project doesn't own branches of Drizzle. People own branches that just happen to be associated with the project. So the project is a collection of metadata, and a branch is a thing, and it has a piece of metadata that indicates that it is associated with this bundle of metadata called a project. But a project itself doesn't own diddly anything. It's just a way to name things, if that makes sense, which is a little bit different than...
Yeah, I mean, back in the day when Launchpad's competition, as it were, with SourceForge, you get lots of people, how do I join a project? Well,
you don't join a project.
It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, a project is a description of something. You join a team. A team may own a project, and so you may join a team, and that team has permissions to manage the information associated with the project. If that makes sense. So,
in particular, you don't need any permission to create a branch for a project. So this is another way, because it's distributed version control. If you want to fix a bug in a project, you grab the branch. You don't need anyone's permission to push up the branch and propose it to be merged. Obviously, you need permission to actually get the branch into the other branch.
But that has to do with ownership. Sorry, you had a...
Actually, he said exactly what
Oh, great.
was. So the Launchpad has no idea that people are making branches until the branches get pushed back up to Launchpad.
That's correct.
So,
Yeah. So in fact, that's actually somewhere on here. Compared, I want to spend as little time as I can comparing to Git or GitHub because that's just a different thing. But there, for instance, to make a fork of something, you have to go to GitHub, or you can use one of the API command line things. But you essentially have to tell GitHub, I'm forking this repository, right? And it does the fork, which is partially an implementation detail because you have to create a remote repository to be able to push into a remote repository. Like that's sort of the way that physically works. So you have to do it in Launchpad, partially again driven by implementation details of Bazaar. That's not required for Bazaar. You can just push a Bazaar branch anywhere and you can do that. So you branch a branch that I've pushed up, and you can push it to somewhere under your own, so if you're tilde mark, for instance, then you can push it to tilde mark / project name / whatever you want to call the branch, and then it'll show up in the list of branches of that project, but you don't have to be officially associated with that project in any way, shape, or form, and you don't have to tell Launchpad about that in the first place.
So I have to tell you if I branch something and push it down.
Yep.
You know automatically.
Yeah, I mean, if I bother to look, I'll know on that.
And it's like RSS feeds, like you can get feeds whenever you push it, someone pushes a new branch.
The thing where I will know, so when you're talking about actually getting something landed into trunk, and I'll we'll actually pointing it. Where's my mouse cursor? There it is. So as a good example, as it's always a good example for everything, we do in fact use every feature of Launchpad that exists. So here's the Drizzle project. You'll see down here that there's a thing that mentions the development focus of the project. In this case is LP:drizzle, which is just a shortcut for pretty much any project. LP: the project name will get you whatever's been designated as that thing. If we click on that, you'll see that that's actually just a shortcut for ~drizzle developers /drizzle /Elliot in this case, right? So that's the actual branch. And so if you want to get your branch merged into whatever our trunk is, then the permissions around that and everything like that actually all have to do with the person who owns the branch in question. So there isn't a trunk branch of the project as much as there's we've designated this random branch as the, right, if that makes sense. So
it's a label, there's nothing intrinsic to this branch that says it.
But so if you push a branch up, and you'll see actually right here, 8 branches proposed for merging into this one. If you push a branch up and you'll see on the branches page on Launchpad there's a proposed for merge, then you'll get something that looks like this, right? So these are branch, and I as a member of the Drizzle developers team would get an email saying someone has proposed a branch to be merged into this branch. And then you sort of get this, and we sort of see what the workflow is. I use this page all the time. And I see that I should probably go review those 2 branches, although that one has 432 lines, which is entirely too many lines, so it'll take me too long to read that, so I'll just let somebody else review that. But so that's the sort of
on the Stewart's branch.
Wait, which this one right here?
The one below or something.
This is Stewart's?
Just nice and small.
Oh yeah, it is nice and small. So here, this is the merge. So merge proposals are like the big sort of unit of work in this system. So this is the page describing Stewart's change. Here's his description of what he's done. you'll see this is the branch that's proposed and the target branch that it's proposed to. And then we'll come down here, we'll see the discussion about this, because when you get that email saying somebody's request to merge, you can just reply to the email thread. You can actually, there's special commands you can stick in the email to approve it or deny it or things like that. And so there's the conversation about it, and then here's a diff showing what it is that he did in this branch. And then these are the individual revisions that happen to be in the branch that are asking to be merged in. There's two things, actually, while we're on this page, a really good thing to point out is you'll see down here each of these comments, and you can come onto the thing, and I'm not logged in. So if you saw this, there would be a little drop-down window that would say, approve, deny, whatever, and then the message text. That's essentially a vote on the thing. It is separate from. So that shows that you think this is great, right? But up here, the status, I should probably actually log in so we can see all of the things. The status where it says need review right there will be like a little screw it.
You can change the status basically to.
Yeah. So there's an overall status of the merge proposal, and there's also votes on the merge proposal. And so depending on policy, how you run the thing, how you run your pitches,
I mean,
that's a workflow.
Does the merge happen automatically when?
No.
No.
Probably. One day, probably.
Well, it does for the OpenStack branches.
How would you use Tarmac?
What's that?
You use Tarmac.
We do use Tarmac, yeah. So I'll show that as an example.
So the workflow is someone reviews that,
Mhm.
is it approved by, and whoever is responsible for that manually merges the branch,
Yeah.
Mhm.
and then marks.
Oh, it gets marked merged.
Yeah.
Automatically.
Once the person merges the branch and pushes
Okay,
yeah.
So we want, so yeah, the external tools or API clients basically you can run that will scan for all of Tarmac is B1 actually, not several. And they will, that scans for all approved branches, it will pull down the trunk branch, merge in the, if there are no conflicts, it will commit and then push it back up. I think you can configure it to run the test suite for it.
Yeah, and so you'll see this in the list right here, approved reviews, ready to land. If we did this for,
This stuff area is going to change in the next few months, I guess, because we want to have explicit make decisions between approved and queued, because sometimes they're not quite.
so you'll see for OpenStack compute, there's nothing in the approved slot here, because we have a process that runs every 5 minutes. Connects to Launchpad over the API, gets a list of approved things, runs it through tests, and if they pass, commits them and pushes them back up. So
Does it also create a package?
I have another Hudson job that then creates packages and uploads them to DPA. But yeah. So, and you'll see actually if we go to
Oh, so I don't
the main.
do all that Debian stuff, you just do it for me?
No, when I say I have, like I've got a Hudson server that does
Okay.
all of these
All right.
things. Yeah.
So that's the price of admission right there, man.
This
So
section doesn't
Launchpad
show
has a
that.
facility to do that. If you've already got a branch with all the Debian stuff in it, Launchpad has a facility for saying, take the trunk branch, merge in all this Debian crap, and make me a package.
Wow.
You still have to write back to them.
You still have to do that.
Yeah,
We'll
it's
see it.
not the right Debian stuff, but the demo that they showed of the daily build of KDE, that's how that's being done.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's the merge. Yeah. So you see anyway. So that's that. Yeah. And in our case, our Hudson user is the only person who can upload a trunk here. So again, that's getting into entirely too much. That's external tooling and stuff like that. But highly recommended. And if anybody's interested in setting something up like that, I'm happy to help or point at resources and stuff like that, because it's. I think honestly, if you can, you should always do that because it's better. No matter whether you're using Bazaar, or whatever, it's just a good idea. We've got the DVCS capabilities.
So can I clarify one point?
Yes.
Okay, let's say you don't have all the automatic features for merging.
No.
You propose a branch,
Mhm.
maintainer looks at it and says, yeah, I like that, he says approved. Who is responsible for getting that? Is it Anybody or?
It's,
Well, anyone who has
Anybody-
right access.
Right access.
yeah,
yes.
anybody who has right access to the main, to the target branch.
Right.
So, and then that sort of happens via policy,
Yeah,
like as I understand it, you know, I shouldn't really talk to Launchpad policy because I don't actually work on the team, but like they've got different policy for like who's responsible for landing branches.
Yeah, so I mean, all these things currently are essentially just labels that don't have any particular
Right.
semantics attached to them. And maybe this will get changed over time. And, like, it would be nice if many projects have a policy that to approve vote, every merge proposal needs to approve votes. So, and you could have it so that if it gets to approve votes, then it gets automatically moved to approve or whatever. But that kind of policy is different for each project, and so it's a bundle of work to implement.
Yeah.
Is there, does the policy, is it actually on the Launchpad for that team, or is it just kind of, you just have to know?
You just have to
Yeah, it's just for team policy, like whatever your working policy is.
Okay.
Like for Drizzle, we'll have one person at any one given point in time actually handling merges. So rather than approving anything at that moment, they're just sort of looking at the approved queue. They'll pull down the next branch, do the merge, check it out, run it through our Hudson thing. If it's all good, then they'll push it out. And we're just sort of like, we're going to email me text that we send back and forth saying, oh, I'm handling merges right now. So that we don't have anybody stepping on toes or whatever. So that's just how, that's a per project, how you define that as a group.
Well, it presumes that if you're involved in a project who cares about what that policy is for merging, then they will let you know about that policy before they give you access to the branch in question.
Yes. Yes.
I'll say that.
Yeah, but the nice thing about the merge proposals thing is that you don't have to, you can give commit access to virtually nobody. And it's not very much, because once you toss that merge proposal up there, you don't have to sort of shepherd your branch in a particular way.
It's pretty common to only have a robot basically be able to commit to a trunk branch. So this robot is the thing that downloads it, runs the tests, and pushes.
Yeah.
So
That's we're moving towards that with Grizzle. We've been working with folks to do a couple of things that we need to do because our build process is much more. We run a lot of tests on a lot of different platforms, and so just running a script locally is not good enough. We need to run it through a Hudson, and so there's some integration. Anyway.
So you're very comfortable with the regression tests that you run on Drizzle?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean that's our. I mean we do code reviews, but we're also like. Nothing can go to trunk unless all of the tests have passed and there's no performance regressions. But before I can robot that, I need to make sure that the process for doing that, there's elements of that I've got to make sure there's a human at the right places that can say, yes, the robot has done the right job, or whatever, like we're comfortable with it.
So what else? So it's code imports are a way of taking things that are using Subversion or CVS or Git or, if you're lucky, Mercurial, and making them into a Bazaar branch, which you can then feed into these other systems. So I think the Ubuntu One team use various projects.
HTTP whatever is on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's maintained in Git, but it's imported into Launchpad, and people use Launchpad's merge proposal process to review branches before they get sent upstream.
I actually used this one just yesterday. I needed to compile something from Boost's Subversion, and for some reason in their release branch they generate all of the docs first and then commit them to the release branch. So doing a Subversion checkout of their release branch was taking like hours and hours and hours and hours and hours and hours, and it kept failing and stuff like that. And then somebody smart was like, hey, I bet Launchpad is importing that, and it turns out they were. And so this branch right here, I did a lightweight check of that, and it took like 5 minutes. So it was a huge win. Thank you, Launchpad. Yeah, and that's just right there, the VCS imports team or bot or whatever runs all of those. Yeah. That's fantastic.
Yeah, and so again, the KDE people who are building the data builds are using this to import from Subversion.
Yeah.
It even imports the Linux kernel. They're getting that to work was quite a lot better. What else do we want to talk about? Bug watches are perhaps not so interesting for this crowd. What do you call?
This is complicated. Let's do. So we did this. Already did that bit right there.
Yeah, we
Um,
haven't talked about shared repos.
Yeah, this is a local, this is a local thing. So using BZR on your local machine, a thing that you want to do, so say I'm gonna pull that boost branch, and I'm actually gonna work on it. Like, it's not just this random thing that happens to be up there. I wanna do that. There's a concept in Bazaar of a thing called a shared repository, which sounds like something you might stick on a server, but it's actually it's a local optimization. So a BCR branch, like most DVCS systems, pulls down all the revisions that are there upstream. And so if I just did, BZR branch LP:boost, right? That's going to get me the whole thing in one directory, and then I'll do BZR branch boost my boost branch or whatever, and that'll give me a whole other copy of the entire revision history, right? Because branches in BZR are their own directory, like it's not natively co-located like it is in Git. So what you really want to do before you start doing any sort of significant work on any particular project is this command, which is BZR init repo boost. And if I'm lucky, I won't have a thing. And that will create you a directory, right, that has a little BZR thing in it. And then inside of that, if I did BZR branch LP:boost, then what it's going to do is, of course, that's boost, so I'm not going to actually do that. It'll take forever. But let's pretend that LP:boost is actually this drizzle repository. I'm going to pretend that branch did this. Branch, because this won't take forever. So it'll take a little bit, and so that's so I'm pulling boost, and I'm generating a directory locally here that will be the branch that I just branched, but in this container directory that I'm in is where it's going to stick all of the version history. So inside of the directory that I'm currently in, anytime I make a branch in there, it's just going to be the working directory and any revisions that branch has that aren't, like, so it's like, so there's a pool of available revisions, and a branch is actually just a reference to a particular tip of the thing. So a reference to a revision that behaves as a tip for that collection, for that branch, right? So
and then it's also the working tree, which when you commit, it's a new revision on top of the one that's.
So when you do the push, do you have to get back into this directory?
Nope.
So those were the
pushes are all, this is just, you're always still working with branches. Branches are what you're working with. This directory right here is just it's a local cache pool of all of the revision things itself, so that you can share those amongst, if you've got 20 or 30 branches.
So the way I like to put it is that your repository has all the revisions. It's just a jumble. The branch is what says how to put the revisions together.
Yeah.
And the working tree is the result of the revisions put together in a certain way.
Yeah. And my hard drive is being stuck.
So what's the working tree in this case? The ..drizzle/drizzle?
Oh, so that was actually, pretend that ..drizzle/drizzle was LP:boost. Like, I just pulled this from Launchpad. I'm pulling from something locally so that we don't have to wait for actually I'm on my 3G card right now. So so this right here is the working tree, right? So this is my now, so this drizzle directory that I just pulled down is that. If I come back here and I made another branch of it, branch, drizzle, foo, then it's gonna copy, and then so now I've got a sorry, that's blue and hard to see there. So I've got a drizzle, that's one branch, that's another branch. You can go in between them, and I can do all of the operations between branches to shuttle stuff back and forth. All of that sorts of stuff works. I could also, if there were other things in there, I could merge from. I can do all of these various things, right? But the organization thing of there is never a reason not to do this. You always want to just it's just the way to do it, and it's what you want to do.
So always do a BZR repo someplace.
Yeah. And then make all of your branches below that location. Yeah, is the main thing, and you can see the when you go into some directory that has this many branches in it. If I had that many copies of that's just would be ridiculous.
Yep.
So, and that's even, I've cleaned that out. I've had hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of branches. Yes?
What is the difference between branch and
Between branch and what? Oh, so pull is,
Pull is when you have two branches already, and one has, like, you have a copy of trunk locally, and then you once you say pull, because someone does more work upstream, and you pull those branches into yours.
Yeah.
Branch is a way of getting the branch to start with.
right. And then the difference between pull and merge is, so a pull is when one branch, a pull can only work when one branch is a
Mirror.
bit of a mirror, or has, there's only new revisions in one of the branches, right? So if I've got branch A and there's another branch B that has revisions I don't have, but I don't have any revisions that that branch doesn't have, right? So they can cleanly, with absolutely all certainty, apply the revisions because we have a common ancestor and they are the only one with new ones. I can pull from them. It doesn't require any new commits. A merge, on the other hand, when there has been divergence, you do a merge and you will always have to commit after a merge. BZR will never auto-commit a merge, even if it's able to cleanly do that, and it will never happen.
So you mean to say that you have A and B branches and you have changes in your branch and other branches as well. So you use a merge so that you save your changes as well as get the latest changes for the other person
Right.
from the branch.
Yeah, and so
But
that,
they kind of, generally the way workflows work in Bazaar is it's never like use one if you can and one if you can't kind of thing. They're quite different kind of operations. Pull is for when you're maintaining a mirror, you're just keeping your mirror up to date. Merge is for when you're combining lines of development.
Yeah.
So either you're getting changes, like, so you have trunk, you make a branch because you're implementing some new feature, you hack on it for a while, then you realise you want to get them changes in from trunk again because someone's done a library function you want to call, so you merge trunk, so you're combining trunk with your work, and then ultimately your branch will get merged back into trunk.
yeah, so it's lot merging is a very,
Sorry, please.
no,
So if, for example, a person doesn't change to a particular file and I also have the same changes, then in that case I need to use a merge?
Yes, well, yeah, you will need to.
Yeah,
So
'cause you're-
then you'll potentially get complex
Yeah.
in the same way that you do with other things. Then you'll need to resolve the complex before you.
Will you get a message like there is a conflict, please do the merge? I believe you will get this message, yeah?
yeah, if I try and pull,
It's called, it'll say that the branches have diverged.
yeah,
So the workflow I usually use is to, initially start a work by branching whatever Launchpad branch there is. And then over time, after I've worked on and pushed back up, other people may have put it in before I start a new edit task. Pull. So it's like, give me the latest version of that. So that any merges that I do after I've done my edits, at least I started with the closest.
I thought I was going to show you the error message, but it turns out it was,
They've been busy.
no, that was me. I thought that I wasn't that in sync with the other. Yeah, look, it doesn't really matter. But yeah, so that was I did a pull in it. And it pulled me. Is that-
Stupid use case, can you get to the push directory, please?
Yeah.
Just initialize with init repo.
Oh yeah.
And can you do the init repo again with name X on this level?
On this
Just-
level, yeah.
Yeah, and so now if you check anything, well, if you, what do you call it, just create a branch here, there's gonna be, what's the container, the top level container now?
X.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Anything below, it's going to basically in any directory, it's going to search up to the directory level
Okay.
until it finds a repo. And the reason it's called shared repo is that in the simple case where I haven't done the init repo and I've just done a branch, the repo is contained within the branch. So within any given working directory, it's going to check starting with your current working directory and look up till it finds a repo, and in a simple branch, the repo is contained in the branch. So it's sort of always doing the same operation, it's just looking for where the thing is. So when you create a branch within a repo, there's one already there, I'll use that.
So is there a fetch without pull?
No.
No? So the way I do that then is I just have a .dist directory and I go in there and do a pull and I never change anything there.
Yeah, that's
And then my other one.
That's a real common, that's the most common strategy that people do. Yeah, like that's my, even though I just right now screwed up because I thought it was going to throw me an error message. I just pulled revisions into, this is normally my copy of, my pristine copy of Trunk. And so that's,
It's a thing that,
so this, I just pulled this extra thing in here.
it's a it's one of these things that's both better and worse in the way Git does things. I mean, it's a kind of a trade-off because I personally quite like having each branch I have in a separate physical tree on this because it makes switching between them very easy and if you know where you are. But on the other hand, it means particularly if you're doing like a project in C which has shared compiled objects, it means you have, because they're in different trees, you have to compile one from scratch.
So if you have that, I would really recommend using the Bazaar Colo plugin, which gives you multiple branches within a single directory.
Yeah.
Very similar workflow to Git, and then you just switch between them. And
Okay, I didn't know.
It's fairly new, or at least it's fairly new that it's been.
It's pretty solid, but
Yeah, it's newly solid. That's not quite right.
What is your
Colo.
That's
Colo
better.
init.
Coloify? So you turn this branch into a co-located branch, and then.
Yeah.
Oh,
this
sorry,
is,
that's a.
So this is
weird
copying your whole history. It's
Yeah.
putting it under there, which is maybe. not
Drizzle is
ideal.
possibly not the world's best example to be
Oh.
using it.
So
You have my secret
it needs a.
Revisions ever.
So it kind of needs a command that will take a bunch of branches in directories and
shoves them into it.
shove them into this, whereas what this is doing is turning one of them into a column, which is, there may be such a command, but no, I don't know.
Does Drizzle have all of my SQL system?
No.
No.
No, this is just interesting since we started.
So continuing on with this
Yeah.
example, so suppose I get into the top level boost directory, which
Mhm.
and then do a VZR push to my location. And I've got several projects underneath there. What actually gets pushed back?
It doesn't work.
Okay, thank you. So I have to do it project by project.
It's not right.
Right.
Oh, branch by branch.
There are plugins that help with that will push a whole bunch of branches at once.
Right.
By default.
Yeah, in general, the basic unit of work in VZR is the branch, rather than the repository.
What would be the analog to implement something like Git rebase?
There's a plugin for that, but that's kind of a cultural thing. People don't rebase very often in the Bazaar.
Yeah.
Well,
And the reason for that is
the way log
this.
takes, basically, isn't it?
Yeah, okay, we're gonna skip that. So VZR log, if you see this, you'll see a nice clean revision history, right? You've got one revision here, 1881, 1880, 1879, blah, right? If I do this, sorry. Oh, that's Brian's Bison branch, sorry, I thought I was in a different branch than what I was in.
There's a BZR pager plugin too, by the way, that will run.
So what's actually happening here is every time we merge, it keeps a left hand side of the tree as a special thing. So all of the sub things that were in the branch. So normally, what you do in Git is you'd rebase, you'd have that one nice commit, right? And then you'd send that up, and so that when you see the log, you see what the things are. Well, that's what we effectively get here, right? Is we get this. It's one nice. Each one of these is a discrete unit, and each one of the submerges are still contained within them. So yeah, rebasing is almost never done. I occasionally do it in BZR when I've been working on things for a while. I've got only one commit that I've got there in the first place. Trunk it, like I don't really want to merge trunk in. I sort of want to make a new, like I want to but it's weird. And most of the time, it's almost never a good idea. Like once you push something somewhere, so it's just culturally it almost is never done.
This should be depending of software configuration management, and just the way workflow is at the project, if you want the rebase or not, because this is just implementation detail.
Just implementation detail. The thing is that once you, you can certainly rebase before you push. The problem is that if you rebase something and I rebase something, like we're starting to screw with the revision history. If you've pushed your branch, right, to Launchpad, and I've pulled it down, and then you rebase and repush your branch, it screws everything up, and everything will conflict, and everything will go to hell. Same thing happens with Git. It does.
No, you just.
Then you rebase again.
You disable fast forward only on the server, and then it does.
So what I would say is that I would recommend strongly avoiding rebates until you've been using VCR for a little while. Because it's going to be one of those things where it's a workflow that you're used to from a different tool, and it's just not like I mean, you know, if it's there, you can use it if you want to, but I would recommend trying to work without it for a while and seeing how it works for you, because it's just almost nobody in the VCR world uses it for on a regular basis for any purpose. It's just not, you know.
So if I start development and then it took me a while and then main trunk moved. So I will just merge from main trunk and then push my changes back?
Mhm.
Yeah. If we do this fairly constantly in the Launchpad project, we will make a branch locally, and we will fix a bug, make a change, something like that, and we can't merge it right now because, for example, trunk's frozen or something like that. So we'll usually, every few days or so, we'll merge in trunk back into our branch to make sure that we've got the latest changes and that our changes don't conflict with what's been happening in trunk.
And the order of changes would be what in this case? Trunk changes will go on top of yours, or it will be like a chronological?
So if trunk, if
It will
go
be in graph, or in revision graph order. It's topological sort.
So it keeps Bazaar is more. So you can use it. You know, you could use either tool either way. There's just that one of them has a bias one way and one has a bias the other way. But Bazaar puts more emphasis on keeping a history of what actually happened. What design users tend to think in terms of recording what actually happened, not what you would pretend happened.
But you can do this, like you said, it's just the bias of what the UI is presenting you and what the UI defaults behaviors to do is to preserve all of this.
And I think, you know, like if somebody's digging back through history later on to run an annotator to work out when a regression came in, then seeing, you know, they resolve this conflict this way when they've got their emerging trunk helps you understand.
What would be revision numbers that should be?
N0 again?
No, wait, say that again? That's actually
what would be revision numbers? If I would make a branch and the last revision number was whatever was on the screen, like 1882.
Yeah.
Then I start my own check-in, local check-in. So what? It will be 1883 or it will be something else?
It'll be a dotted.
Yeah.
In your branch, it'll be 1883.
Yeah. So
But when
you go ahead.
So one of the things I wanted to say is like, if you make your branch, you make your commits, you fix your bug or whatever, and then you forget about it for a week. You go on holiday for a week, and lots of stuff happens on trunk. Then you merge into trunk, and then your branch gets merged back into trunk. You'll still see something very much like this. It'll say merge Michael's work. These commits will be a description of what you did.
Merge Monty.
Right. These commits will be a description of what you did, and then it'll go back. So it's not like all the work. It's not like your work gets buried under all the stuff that's happened on trunk since. So I think Git, when you should do Git log, it just orders them chronologically. It's the order things happen. Whereas Bazaar has a order that depends on the structure of.
Yeah, it's trying to show you a tree of things. This was this, and then the next one is here, right?
So .1.3 is the way to show me the tree actually.
Yes.
Right. So a really important thing that when you asked about that number is that these numbers right here, this revno field, this is a convenience and is ephemeral. This is not a meaningful number. If this number right here, what's that?
Usually. It's usually meaningful.
It's usually meaningful in trunk, but it doesn't have to be. So if you look here and you see revision ID, that's the actual non-ephemeral. That's the ID that identifies that revision uniquely for all time, right? That's the thing. This is strictly because that other thing is really annoying to work with in most cases. And a lot of times, so you may want to be like, oh, I only want to pull from what is currently revision 1882 in that tree, but it doesn't carry any particular meaning other than in this particular branch. This is the sequence of the left hand of the tree, if that makes sense.
Yeah, a good thing to remember about the reference is for any, so that there's like conceptually, there's a graph of every revision in the world and the way it relates to itself, to the others. If you pick any particular revision as your tip, then there's a totally deterministic number of every ancestor of that.
So
So this one, so anybody who has a copy of this revision on the main line of their branch, it will be 1882 and everything else will be numbered the same way. But if somebody's on a totally unrelated project or they've made different commits, of course they will have a different one.
So you could show Bazaar Explorer, use Bazaar Explorer to show the tree.
Yes.
Do you have, if I have it installed.
You should have it installed. I think it comes.
How does that work?
Bazaar Space Explorer.
We'll see how often I use graphical tools.
Explorer.
Nope. Sorry.
Bazaar Explorer is pretty awesome though.
Yeah.
What email believe?
And the reason that I brought that up is, so merging is a tree rotation, right? You're putting in a new thing, you're rotating the other tree in. So it's deterministic, like you can predict what's going to happen, but it depends on what order. So if you pull trunk, right? If you pull you have a copy of trunk, you go into trunk and you merge from the branch you're trying to merge in, right? Then you're effectively adding a new revision to the tip of trunk that does that, right? However, if you go into your branch, merge trunk in, now the histories are related in a way, and you went over into, you would be able to push that to trunk, that thing that you've just done, but the rotations will happen differently, so you would change the revision number. So typically the best practice is to get trunk, merge your thing, merge from somewhere into trunk, and then commit and push. I mean, both work. There's nothing invalid. You'll have the same result in the tree, but the history will look weird if you do the other thing.
I have a question.
Yes.
If suppose someone has submitted a branch or something and I want to review that, I have reviewed it using in the Launchpad. Now I want to see how it executes, whether it works fine or not, or sometimes I understand. So how do I import that particular branch into my local copy? Do I need always to take the pull the branch, or can I just pick up that, add to my branch and locally check it?
Right, yeah, so that's, so let me do what I did earlier and screw things up. No, I can't do it the other way. So what I would do, so say I've got a copy of trunk here or whatever, and I want to check out a revision that somebody did. What I'll typically, the way that I almost always do this is I'll just merge the branch in, which is not going to do a commit, right? It was old, what was it that I did? What was Clang? Right, so I'm gonna merge this branch. This is gonna grab it and apply it to my local copy, right? And it's not going to, it's going to apply as a change to the local thing. And unfortunately, I'm on my GSM card, so this takes. What's that? Well, because the Ubuntu keeps dropping me off. So this did some things, and I can do this, right? You know, and I can look at the diff here locally. These are the changes that are in this. There's actually a lot of them because I was clearing compiler warnings from new compiler. You know, if I wanted to double check, look at that. That's, I can go and see what this, what happened here. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, I like it. And then I could either commit it if I wanted to, or I can just revert it and get that change out of the tree.
Oh, and revert back to the same old
Yeah.
changes what is in the file?
Yeah, the merge basically just stages it as if somebody had made the textual changes to that in my local branch, and then has some meta information stored so that when I do the commit, it's also adding the things. But at the moment, my working tree looks exactly as if I just took all of the things and applied them to the local tree.
Can you show the command what you typed? Previous command.
That one, just merge. Yeah. And so merge essentially sets it up for a thing. So I just revert it.
Monica, what if you accidentally committed something that you don't want anymore?
That's a good idea.
Uncommit.
Yeah, he was driving us to that, weren't you?
I'm so happy
Yeah.
that I know about uncommit.
Yeah. So I'm gonna show you here.
There is an
Commit.
uncommit commit, and it works.
And it works very well.
So
Yeah,
you
but
make,
it's even called uncommit.
yeah, so you make a commit and then you
So,
go,
we'll watch this. So I just
please
did
do not uncommit.
Yeah. So I just did the.
Commit on top of you.
So I just did this pending merge. Yeah. Check it out. So I just did the merge of that branch that we looked at before, these are all the things that have changed. It's got this pending merge tip here. Like we looked at this, right? So I'm like, oh yeah, that's great. I wanna commit that. You know, blah. That's some useful commit message. Now when we look at the log, we'll see there's my commit of the merge of that branch. So that's great. And then I'm like, oh wait, crap, that sucked. That was terrible. I can do uncommit. And it will say, ooh, this revision will be removed. Are you sure? And I say yes. All that is done has removed the revision from the graph. It hasn't made any changes to my working directory. So now if I do this, pick this up, we'll now see that all those files are still changed, and there's still a pending merge tip there. So if I wanted to, screw it, that was the worst idea in the world, I can do that to get rid of the changes, or I can make changes to them and I can recommit. So the uncommit is purely an operation on the graph, and doesn't make any changes to the local thing.
The old commit message that it told you you could get things back with, it kind of isn't really a thing though?
Yeah,
Right?
check it out. So I'll just do this again. So I'm going to uncommit the next thing off, right?
Yeah.
That's a terrible revision. We hate that. So you'll see what it's indicating here is that I can where's my cursor?
But all of that is happening locally still. It's not.
This is all locally.
BZR push.
Right.
But it actually.
Yeah, this is all purely locally. So if I did this command right here,
Right, so, but try a log of that, or a diff to that. I think that
It's gone.
There'll be a diff of, yeah, it'll be what was committed in that last revision, so it'll have a,
or it'll say,
yeah, well that's not in this branch.
right.
Yeah.
Anyway.
so that's something, that's something that I'm used to being able to do. I would want, git log some random commit, it shows me.
Well, I can usually log with some random commit, but this commit doesn't exist in this.
Check it out.
That's kind of just a bug.
Yeah, it's probably just a bug right there.
It actually is,
But it
there is a
should,
useful
like, it
error
actually
message there, it's
should-
just very.
I've tried that before, so I just.
Yeah, no, I mean, you probably hit the same bug.
I opened a bug, but I didn't know if it was like supposed to function or.
Well, you certainly shouldn't do that.
Yeah. So there's the remedy. If I do what it says, so that is sort of what it told me that I could do with that revision.
Yeah, that'll work.
I noticed I reverted my changes out of the, because it still left the changes at the end commit, right? I do that, and it's pulling it from not. So that was sort of an orphan tip at that moment, but I was like, yeah, it's still there, so you can get it back.
And
then if I did that log that we showed, because it's in the branch there.
So in your init repo, above here,
Mhm.
if you found other IDs in other subdirectories, could you log them from here or diff them from here? Or are they?
I don't know that I've ever tried this. So I can definitely do this, right? I can log, I don't know, I know there's going to be one of those and whatever. So there's another branch in that, like this. This is another branch that happens to be up there. Yeah, I can do that. So any of the operations that you can do on a branch, you can do basically by giving it a location of a branch. Like it's going to default to dot, right? To work in your local branch. But if you've got access to that, or I can put a BCR plus SSH and
One of the things about Bazaar is that it doesn't care where a branch lives. You can use a path or a HTTP URL, a SSH URL, and if there's a branch there, it'll work.
Yeah, and you'll notice actually, so we're in that source drizzle place, right? But I made that boost one off of this as well. So if I did log of that branch in there, it works because these repositories aren't related. That's irrelevant. A repository is just a bucket to stick stuff into. But these are branches that I have access to, so they're all there. It's just
You run out of time.
I think Mr. T told us to get out of here.
Oh crap!
Wow, okay.
So one last thing
There
is
is one, right?
BZR rocks.
Yeah. These are our rocks.
So I run it.
It's just a bug.
So
That's awesome.